Plot twists are in almost every story, but they're incredibly easy to mess up. So here are 5 things that people do that mess up their plots, and 5 things that you can do to make sure they work. First up, I'm going to talk about how to do a plot twist right, with 5 steps. And then, once I've told you how to do it, I'm going to talk you through 5 common mistakes that writers make that make their plot twists boring, catch people off guard in a negative way, all sorts of stuff. The first step to executing a successful plot twist is setting up the foundation. So before we delve into any sort of technique talk, let's just lay the groundwork for a good plot twist. Make sure that your characters are well developed. Check out my videos up above about writing characters if you need pointers on that one. And make sure that your story has a clear direction. My #1 tip when it comes to writing is always to know the end before you begin. That way, you have a clear destination, you know where everything is going, and you're not going to pull a Game of Thrones or Lost. If you have good characters and a clear idea of your plot, this will make sure that your plot twist belongs and it doesn't feel forced for dramatic effect. Next up, we're going to subvert expectations. So now we're into the technical part. You want to challenge your readers' assumptions and take them on an unexpected journey. You don't want them to see everything coming. You want to surprise them. I know that The Last Jedi didn't have a lot of fans, and I personally didn't love the movie. But I will admit that it did a couple things that I found really interesting. And this is the way that it subverted people's expectations. Instead of having Luke be the savior, he threw the lightsaber over his shoulder. While I have problems with this, I also can respect it as a move that really was unexpected and honestly, from a technical standpoint, a pretty good plot twist. They had Rey and Kylo Ren fall in love. All of the things that we were not expecting happened, to the point that it almost felt like too much. But we'll get into that when we talk about the mistakes that people make. For now, I'm just saying on the positive side of The Last Jedi, we could learn a lot from the way that they subverted expectations. But if you're going to be subverting people's expectations, and yes, I know I said that a lot so far in this video, you have to plant seeds of doubt first. Which brings us on to the next step. To make your plot twist believable, it's crucial to sprinkle little breadcrumbs leading up to it. You have to foreshadow the plot twist. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, check out my video up above about flashbacks, foreshadowing, and visions, where I talk a little bit more about how to do that correctly. Because I think that foreshadowing is super important and I love playing with it in my stories. And I often do this via flashbacks and visions, so that's why I lumped them all together. But when it comes to plot twists, you should drop subtle hints, foreshadow events, or introduce conflicting information. The last thing you want is for the plot twist to feel like a betrayal to your readers, or a random occurrence. You want it to feel like a natural progression of your story. You want people to look back and be like, I should have seen that coming. #4 is that timing is everything. Timing can be the difference between a plot twist that feels forced or falls flat and a satisfying one that will leave your readers wanting more. Consider the pacing of your story and place your twist at the spot where it will have the most impact and feel the most natural. Don't stick it at the end of a chapter just because you feel like that's where it should go. Put it wherever in your story you think it makes most sense. If that means early in your story, in the middle of your story, at the end of your story, it doesn't matter. But the plot twist needs to have enough time to play out, to feel natural, and to fit in that moment of your story. Of course, plot twists are also a great way to make sure that your readers never get bored. If you place them in a climactic moment, your readers will be shocked. Or maybe you place them at the spot where your readers think they have everything figured out to keep them on their toes. Plot twists are a technical way for you to keep your readers invested, but you never want them to feel like betrayed by the plot twist. Again, getting into the mistakes soon. Just one more tip. The 5th and final tip is character motivation. It's rare that a plot twist comes out of thin air, and when they do, they often feel a little bit off, unless it can be really well executed. So it often comes from a character, one of your characters, to be specific, because you're writing the book. I don't know why I felt the need to specify that. Anyway, plot twists are often the unveiling of hidden desires, agendas, or unexpected alliances. But the key is to make sure that your twist aligns with the character's personalities and motivations. If you give a plot twist to a character that it doesn't make sense for them to reveal this, it's just gonna feel forced and like that betrayal I've been talking about. So that brings us to the 5 mistakes that people often make when it comes to plot twists. One of the common mistakes is lack of foreshadowing. Now, I already talked about foreshadowing a little bit, but I'm gonna really put some emphasis on this because it is a huge and very important part of plot twists. For example, in my own story, I have a plot twist that I will not be spoiling, but I've been foreshadowing it since the first issue of the comic. There's foreshadowing for it in almost every single issue. Hopefully not too obvious because I don't want you to figure it out, but that way, when the plot twist comes, the readers will be able to look back and be like, I should have seen that. The same way that with a mystery novel, when eventually the murderer is revealed, you can go back and see all the clues. You want it to feel that way with your plot twist. Your plot twist is like a mini mystery novel inside your book. Without subtle clues or hints throughout your story, the plot twist can feel forced and like it came out of nowhere, leaving your readers just confused and unsatisfied. The second mistake that people often make is predictability. There's certain kinds of plot twists that have been done so many times that everyone sees them coming. I know that my dad, whenever we're watching TV, knows every single plot twist before it comes. He sees a character just like, they're gonna do this. And I don't know how he does it, but some people can do that, and you want to make sure that you can fool even them. And why this is so important is because if readers can see your plot twist coming from a mile away, it will have no impact on them. They'll just be like, oh yeah, I saw it coming, knew it. You don't want them to have that reaction. You want them to be surprised. You want it to be a plot twist and not just another plot beat that they knew was going to happen. One way to avoid this is to not use cliched or overused plot twists and tropes that people have seen a million times, because of course they'll be able to see those coming. But if you wanted to play with subverting expectations and use a classic plot twist but in a new or interesting way, that could be really compelling. I don't have a problem with tropes, but I also think that if they're used just because you can't think of anything else, that's a problem. I recently did a video where I talked about tropes that I didn't like, and I got a lot of mixed feedback from it. On the one hand, a lot of people agreed with me that tropes are overused and wanted to tell me all the tropes that they think are overused. But other people said they liked tropes. And I want to make it very clear that I never meant I didn't like tropes. I think that they're very interesting, and I'm probably use some in my stories, but I think that there are right ways to do them and wrong ways to do them. So if you want to go for a conventional plot twist because you think it's interesting and you could add something new to it or make it exciting, by all means, go for it. But if you're throwing it in there just because you feel like you need to or because you don't have another idea, sit on it and think about it a little bit longer. You should never write something just because you feel like you have to. You should write it because it feels like it fits with your story. My third pet peeve, and a pet peeve of many people who read books and watch TV shows, is inconsistent personalities. If a character is acting some way throughout the entire series and then suddenly does the opposite of that in the last moment just for a climactic plot twist, it's gonna feel weird. You're gonna feel like you were lied to. Plot twists should align with the already established character motivations and behaviors of your cast of characters. Does that mean that a character can't lie or be a spy or something along those lines? No, go ahead, that happens. But if a character is doing something just to serve the plot, don't do that. No one's gonna like that. They like your characters. They're reading your story probably because they like your characters. So then when one of them turns into a totally different character for one scene to serve the plot, they're not going to be happy about that. When I say they, I mean your readers. So don't have a character suddenly do something out of character for them just to serve your plot. It's just going to feel forced and unrealistic. Number 4 is a lack of emotional impact. Plot twists are all about emotional impact. I don't know how to scientifically tap into the emotional part of your reader's brain. I'd say that just comes with good storytelling and attachment to the characters. If I'm reading a book about good characters, I'm going to feel emotionally invested, and if I'm reading a book about bad characters, I'm going to not feel emotionally invested. So this is less a thing to do with the plot twist and more a thing to do with your overall writing, in my opinion. But I would say if your plot twist fails to elicit any kind of emotional reaction, it's probably going to fall flat. And I don't mean that when they read it, your reader has to start bawling their eyes out or scream out, I can't believe that happened. I just mean they should feel something. Whether that's a character dying and they're sad, or two characters getting together that they didn't see coming and they're happy. It can be any sort of emotion, but your story should cause some sort of emotion. Not just with plot twists, but especially with plot twists. So put the time in to make sure that your plot works. And most importantly, when it comes to the emotional part, that your characters resonate. Now, number 5 has always been a pet peeve of mine, is overcomplicating the twist. Sometimes writers want to blow people away with their plot twist, and so they really overcomplicate it. What all of this does is confuse readers instead of surprising them. It's important to strike a balance between being clever and maintaining clarity. You need to be able to do both in your story, not just one or the other. Do I want to be surprised by a plot twist? You betcha. But do I want to be confused by the plot twist? Have to ask someone else, wait, did you read this book? What is happening? No. That means I'd probably put the book down. I want to understand what's happening and be surprised by it, not stare at a page, read it 5 times, and go, what? So, especially in certain genres like spy shows, I've recently been watching Slow Horses, and I really love the show. And sometimes, are the plots really complex? Yes, but they're explained in a understandable way. I'm never confused when I'm watching that show, and I really appreciate that. It always has plot twists. It always has revealing moments, but they all make sense. Make sure that you're maintaining clarity with your plot twist and not overcomplicating it to try and compensate for it not being original or something along those lines. So in this video, I've talked a lot about the importance of foreshadowing, so definitely check out my foreshadowing video, or if you wanted an example of it in action, you could check out my What Writers Can Learn from The Owl House, Amphibia, Gravity Falls, and Star vs. the Forces of Evil. Did I say all those shows in the right order? No, but it is a really long name for that video, and I should have given it a much snappier name because of the amount of times I reference it. I will put them both up on the screen. Hopefully you enjoy, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you're only going to do one of those things, I'd really love you to subscribe, and I will see you on the next page. Bye for now.